What does this say about the franchise, Stephen A., now that you've had some time to kind of reflect on this news?
Well, what it says is that it's in complete disarray. It's probably as bad as it's ever been in a modern-day era. You can think about the ineptitude that raked through this franchise from the time that James Dolan took over. You can go to the Isaiah Thomas years and some of the troubles that they had in terms of Isaiah Thomas with Stephon Marbury, and then, you know, the whole trial that took place with Anuka Brown Sanders, and, you know, James Dolan at Madison Square Garden losing the lawsuit and stuff. You've had black marks on the franchise, but it was primarily due to the dysfunctionality led by an owner that very few people believe knew anything about basketball. Here's why it's worse now than it's ever been. Because you have an 11-time champion, and it's still bad. It's like you went back in the day, you were hoping and praying for the dysfunctionality to dissipate to some degree and just get us a basketball guy in there. That's it. Now that an 11-time champion has come in, and he's made it worse. I mean, all the hope has been literally stripped from New York Knicks faithful everywhere, because you're saying you can't believe there's no hope for this franchise if an 11-time champion can look so lost, so incompetent, so beyond, whatever you want to call it. Let's take this into consideration and dissect this the way it is. Phil Jackson hiring a novice coach in Derek Fisher. Phil Jackson wanting to keep a novice coach in Kurt Rambis. Phil Jackson preventing Kurt Rambis from going back to California with his family because he promised him basically you'll be the head coach here, and then reneging on that promise. Phil Jackson getting Jeff Hornacek to be here while also trying to implement the triangle when Jeff Hornacek didn't know anything about the triangle. And now you've got Jeff Hornacek out there because he wants to keep that job paying them about $4 to $5 million a year, because why lose those dollars? And he's sitting up there trying to teach the triangle. How the hell are you going to teach something Max you never knew? Doesn't make any sense. But here's what makes it worse. I got on the phone yesterday after the show, and I made my calls. This is what I do. And you have people in NBA circles that believe this is all a hoax. This has nothing to do with Phil. They believe this is Porzingis, through his brother Giannis, trying to apply pressure to Phil so Phil will leave. Porzingis doesn't want to leave New York. He wants Phil gone. And now he and his people at age 21 are trying to orchestrate the exodus of an 11-time champion because they're so disgusted. In other words, Max, how the hell do you know to be that frustrated when you're 21 years of age?
I'll tell you
That's
this.
how bad it is right now.
I'll tell you this.
That's what I wanted to tell you.
I thank you for that piece of information.
Oh, my God.
And all I can tell you is,
right,
if I didn't already have a crush on Kristaps Porzingis,
oh boy,
like if Knicks fans weren't already over the moon for this kid, that is a franchise player, boy. 21 years old, 7'3". Remember Yao Ming, 7'5". It's unbelievable. He's almost Yao Ming's height, but he plays facing the basket, can shoot from three, can take bigs off the dribble, and on defense, kind of is what I just see. Was it Nate? So someone just had a statistic showing where he's already maybe an elite defender, at least in terms of his defensive impact on the game. He's a rim protector. If he can stay healthy, he can be a great player. The kind of player where all the other GMs in the East in the beginning of every season have to get together and go, okay, how are we going to deal with Kristaps Porzingis? I want to mention a few things about the Knicks.
Okay.
This terrible franchise. I mean, you brought up all the stuff. I can go back to Marcus Camby and Nene in a trade for the remains of Antonio McDyess, passing up on Ron Artest for Frederick Weiss. I mean, I can't. Here's the issue right now. Phil Jackson is arguably the greatest coach in the history of the NBA. You can make that argument, 11 chips.
Nobody should take that away from him.
He is, as an executive, hot garbage. Garbage. He is a garbage executive. He could not be worse. Think of the things the Knicks had, what they gave up, and what they got back. That's his job. First of all, he's instituting an antiquated offense. It doesn't work. I mean, Popovich will use elements of the triangle at times. It's not that it never works, but you don't base your whole offense around it. You don't make all personnel decisions based on forcing, round objects into a triangular hole. What is he doing? But what do you get for Tyson Chandler other than cap problems that he then had to figure out? what to do with. He used Amon Shumpert, who was an asset, to leverage themselves out of a small deal for J.R. Smith that they thought was a bad deal. They both got significant minutes for a world championship team. Now he's devalued Carmelo Anthony to the point where they might cut him because they can't get anything for him on the trade market. Carmelo Anthony, who, whatever else I say about him, I think he's overrated by some. He's a fantastic scorer. And now Kristaps Porzingis maybe is on the trade block? This is like, you know the movie The Producers, the old movie with Mel Brooks, where they want to tank for tax purposes or something. They want to ruin a Broadway show. They make the worst show possible that they can make, and it becomes a hit because it's so crazily bad that everyone actually likes it. That's like what the Knicks are if you actually tried to do that in real life with a basketball team. It's as though, or the Natural, when they tried to tank the season, it's as though Phil Jackson is trying to create the worst team in the NBA, or the worst team of all time, in spite of the fact, like, imagine any other team. Boy, we really need some franchise cornerstones. Well, here you can have Kristaps Porzingis and Carmelo Anthony. Oh, look at that. We could build something around that. And instead, they're trying to constantly tear it all down. It is insanity. Phil Jackson is straight garbage as an executive. Greatest coach ever, arguably, but as an executive, he could not be worse. Dolan is a terrible owner. The Knicks remain a laughingstock. They are a laughingstock clown franchise.
You're wrong. You're wrong. There is nothing funny about the New York Knicks and how awful they have been. It is not a laughing matter. It's serious. It's seriously bad. It's seriously depressing. I mean, you got people walking around on Prozac because of the Knicks. Don't get me started with how awful they are. They are an abomination as we speak right now because of Phil Jackson.